And welcome to the MedTech Financial Advisors podcast with your host, Matthew Nelson. Matthew, good to be with you again.
Yes, glad to be here.
Yeah, for those who don't know, this is the second episode in your nascent podcast. And last episode, we heard a little bit about you personally. Now we're going to get into more about the firm and your investment philosophies. So tell us a little bit about the firm, if you would.
Yeah, it's great. I think, last time it ended where I had gotten to basically to independence as a solo advisor. And I thought it'd be pertinent just to follow up with, how that transitioned into us being a group. So again, after getting to Focus Financial, which is an independent RIA.
Yeah. What is an
and
RIA before we get too far down the road?
Thank you. Registered investment advisory firm.
All right.
And so, that was about 2006. And so it was a fun time to be in the markets. I say that with tongue in cheek. But
I
after
covered 2008 as a financial reporter.
it
Yes,
then.
it was a really good time to get into the market. That took some brass, as they might say.
Yes. I mean, but survived. So survived the 2007 to basically 2009 kind of period and crisis. And coming out of that, the practice was growing fast. We had a lot going on. It seemed like the stars sort of aligned for me, and I was able to acquire three separate financial practices that were, from advisors that were either transitioning out of the business or transitioning into retirement, and that just put everything to like a high growth mode. It was exciting time. We were adding staff, adding advisors, and doing a lot of great work for clients. But this led up to about 2020. And by that time we were set up really as individually focused advisors. So we were sharing resources as a group, but we really had developed into separate teams. And it'd be like, I guess I could say we're like all on the same farm, but in different silos. We had different silos. So just throwing that out there, so my dad will get a chuckle from that one, I think. But so and that has its advantages. You can deliver good work that way. But then the COVID crisis hits, and that caused me to step back and just think about what did I want to build here? What kind of legacy did I want to leave? What would happen if something happened to me, to clients? I wanted to make sure they were taken care of, families were taken care of. So really just wanted to have a long lasting firm that was with a group of people in a boat that we're all rowing the same direction.
Okay.
So by 2021, my now partner, Matt Finley, and I launched our official partnership, and that's present day Perspective 6 Group.
Okay.
We basically converted everything to a team structure where we're serving clients as just one big unified firm. And what's been great about that is it's allowed us to specialize our roles. The support side has more resource to really take care of clients. And it's just made for a really good experience. Firm's growing stronger. I'm just really excited about where it's going to go from here.
So just so we're clear, and we probably get into this a little bit later, but Perspective 6 became the umbrella firm, basically the parent firm or the overarching piece of the structure.
It's a good clarification. So we're really affiliated with an independent firm called Focus Financial.
Okay.
But Perspective 6 Group is maybe our boutique name, if you will, the group's boutique name. So we're a separate firm within Focus Financial, running fully autonomously.
All right, great. So that leads pretty naturally to the question of team. Who's on your team and what do they do?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned my partner, Matt. So Matt Finley, he has actually a science background as a research microbiologist. So which is pretty interesting. Kind of he kept the group just apprised, during the COVID crisis. And he's got a lot of experience as an advisor before joining the group. But now he acts as our chief investment officer.
Okay.
So he is responsible for the investment portfolios, in addition to all his client work that he does. And then we have Jacob LaRue, also an advisor. He joined me right out of school, which was back in 2016. So, I've been able to retain him. Just been a wonderful addition to the team. He basically does all things financial planning for us, tax research, and he helps Matt implement the portfolios with trading. Abby leads our support team and manages the office, and she's helping with new client onboarding. Just kind of generally keeps all of us on track. So that's the coordinator. And then we have Brandon, who's been with me about 10 years now, came to us as an intern. So that's kind of a fun legacy to have. Good support on the client side. Great feedback there. And then our newest addition is Emily, and she came to us with a great background, both teacher and in the medical side. Helps me with marketing and client support and communications.
That's nice. That sounds like it's interesting because the team sounds well experienced in their various areas of expertise.
Yes, yeah, we get lots of good feedback. I think they just gel. It's a fantastic group to be part of, really.
Well, now that we know what everybody else does, what do you do besides count?
Yeah, well, I guess
what's your role, Matt?
What do I do? So really I need to provide direction for the firm, and really I'm overseeing the financial planning initiatives, how we're doing things, how we communicate. I'm assisting Matt with our portfolio direction. You and I are talking all the time about this. Of course, as the founder and leader, that's still my responsibility, but he really does all of the heavy lifting. I couldn't do it without him. And then, I'm in charge of the marketing, communications, and client onboarding, but I basically just kind of have to try to stay out of the way because this group is so fantastic that really just let them do their work.
So you're a leader. In other words, you're the leader.
I'm aspiring to be a leader. Yes.
Well, I hope you succeed because because you're definitely leading the group. You mentioned Focus Financial. Do you still have any responsibility with Focus Financial?
Well, yeah, actually, for the larger firm or the parent firm, if you will.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I serve as an owner there and on the board of directors.
Okay.
Which really just gives me a chance to influence the direction of the broader firm that supports us and my group. And it's been good to see various things that happen with operating issues and management issues that really has helped with client work. So it's been very valuable.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about your mission statement, your values, if you will. Can you describe what your mission statement is and how they form your values or reflect your values?
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this because it's pretty core to what we do, and we put a lot of work into it. I wanted this to be listed on our website when we launched it, both as an outward message, of course, to clients, but also just to remind us internally what we're really doing here. And because it's serious, and I think it's more than just having sort of a slogan going on that you sort of aspire to. So what we've boiled it down to, I say our mission is that we guide people to financial freedom. And there's a lot of meaning packed into those words. The word guide is deliberate there. Less about dispensing advice or being advice dispensers.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I don't know if you remember the old Pez candy dispensers.
Of course I do.
Yeah.
There's some laying around this house right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I think of it that way. It's not like you just push a button and we just kind of pop out a nugget of advice and that's our job. It's really just, okay, so what do you do with that? How do you get people to the other side? More like a mountain guide, the route might change.
Yeah.
But we're going to get them to the other side. And the reason that we want to guide them to financial freedom is because I feel pretty strongly that that's what's causing a lot of stress and anxiety. It's money makes the top list of the things that people have the most anxiety about. And so, we really envision a society with less stress about money and more capacity for good.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Sadly, you can look at the number one reason for marital splits, it's money. You look at the number one stress for people as they get older, it's money. You talk to people in retirement, they're worried about running out of money. And it's
Right.
like, nobody wants to sit around and say the purpose of life and the point of life is money, because that's pretty hollow.
That's right.
But the truth is like, we can sit around and deny all we want. Money's important, and that's it's a fact. It sounds to me like in that mission statement that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're worried, you're concerned about your clients as individuals, as people, not as a collective set, if as it were.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, that's well put. It's as a whole person, more than just sort of a line item on our income statement. This is clearly we're a for-profit business,
Right.
but we don't start with that as the primary item of what we're doing. So,
Okay.
and so just, it's probably more for us even to just remind ourselves constantly every day, because if no client ever saw this mission statement, that would be okay as long as we lived it out. A lot of this really, if you're familiar with Simon Sinek, he's written a lot of great work. He has a book called The Infinite Game, and really impressed me with some of his concepts.
Yeah.
I basically agree with him that the purpose of business is to advance a cause, protect people, and generate a profit, in that order. So advance a cause, protect people, and generate a profit. And it has to be in that order.
Yeah, I know you expect this, because you know that there are people who hear that and say, "Whoa, time out, man! Come on, it's generate a profit, advance a cost, protect people." But come on. So, what's your answer to people who say, "No, no, 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 the profit comes before all else"?
Yeah, I think that's really where um, it's part of what's gotten the economy and that really just society's thinking about stock markets and all of this kind of on its head, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in time, when corporations decided that they were responsible to shareholders for a profit first, things started to change. And I'll try not to go down that path because we don't have time in this episode, but that's really, if you think about the point of money is to live life, it's a human living a life. We're earning a profit to live our life. If
Yeah.
the only reason we do business is to make money and do nothing else, like, it's pointless. And so being able to put your energy into advancing a cause is way more gratifying. And by the way,
Yeah.
if we do that, we'll make enough. We'll make plenty. It'll be just fine.
Yeah. No, no, and I do understand that, and we could go down that whole long philosophical road, and maybe one day we will, because the idea of capitalism is pretty simple. You make a product, you sell a product, and you make a profit from selling that product. That's the basic simple thing. Everything else that guides us from there really is not as tangible. Yeah, and I think that's what you're getting at. It's not as tangible because it involves value. It
Right.
involves perspective. It involves other things where, if the whole point is just to make a profit, that's a pretty soulless economy, I guess, is probably be something you would agree with.
That's absolutely right. And you got to remember some of the people buying your product. Um, the customers that are buying your product are also the people working at your company, and it's
Yeah.
like it's kind of a circuitous, thinking.
Oh
So
no. There is a cycle there, and it can be virtuous or not so virtuous, depending upon it all. We got a little bit of time left here, so I want to ask you about the name, because Perspective 6 is not something that pops into my mind and I think, oh yeah, of course that makes sense. Tell us where that comes from.
Right. Yeah. This goes back a bit, even before the partnership was officially formed, but I've always been intrigued by the idea, or the word, I should say, perspective. As I had been searching for a name for my solo practice, and it has so many meanings. Like literally, the definition of perspective is a bit of a perspective. So it kind of depends on how you read it and what you're looking for. What you're seeing really depends on where you're seeing it from. Is the idea. And sometimes just having help, having a guide. We talked about being a guide, and bringing someone to a different spot can give you a different perspective. And maybe that's all it takes for their understanding. So there's a lot of ways it can kind of roll with that. But then as I was researching and discovered in the art world, the drawings can be done in 6 perspectives. And so if you were to, this is obviously a voice, production here, but as you go through the various perspectives in drawing, you start to pick up different sides of the object. And if you look at a drawing done in 6 perspective, you literally see the up, down, left, right, front, back of that object. And that's how we think about what we do for people. We're looking at the situation from all sides, from all perspectives before we give advice. And we often have to act as a coach, as a guide, to maybe help people see things from a different viewpoint. If we kind of marry those two ideas, all 6 perspectives, then I think we can do our job well.
Yeah, it may be surprising to some people, but it's fascinating to me. One of the biggest revolutions in art, speaking about art, was the notion of perspective. And when artists began to paint with perspective, and when architects suddenly realized, going back to Da Vinci, that in order to translate communicate a concept, they need a perspective.
Right.
And it was a big fundamental change, which is kind of like saying, hey, by the way, Matt, did you know about gravity?
Right. Yes, exactly.
It's great.
We love it.
That's fascinating. How do your client, if folks are listening, who might be intrigued here, how do they reach out to you, prospective clients?
It's probably easiest just to start with our website, which is perspective6group.com. We also have a LinkedIn profile. There's both a company page, and you can follow me on LinkedIn as well. We're starting to do quite a bit more posting these days, including the podcast.
Okay.
So you can look me up, Matthew D. Nelson, on LinkedIn. And if you go to our website, you can start with there's a start here button. If you want to contact us, get on my calendar and see if there's any questions I can answer.
I know the website's noted in the show notes, Matt, but for folks who are listening, maybe in a car or somewhere, what's the website?
It's perspective6group.com.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up episode 2 of this podcast. But before we go, I want to tease people with what we're going to talk about in episode number 3. What are some of the things that we're going to look at in episode number 3, Matt?
We're going to get into what I think makes us a little different, some unique aspects of how we're set up, who we really work with, defining that client that would be we could help the most, and what we really do for them. So we'll get through that and see where it goes.
All right. Well, thank you. We will be waiting for that. And for those who are listening, if you're not a subscriber already, and the chances are probably pretty good that you're not, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't have to worry about remembering to catch the next episode or wondering, where did I say that episode? Hit subscribe. It gets delivered to you. You're notified. You won't miss a single episode. And we also ask that if you would please take some time to rate the podcast and share it with others, because in doing that, you are helping other people find out about this podcast. So on behalf of Matt and all the folks at MedTech Wealth Advisors, I want to thank you for listening. And I want to remind you, don't wait. Live your best life today.